Thanks, Michael, and welcome everybody. Surviving in the software business requires more than just hiring smart engineers and buying the latest development tools. You also need to use effective software development processes, so those smart engineers can systematically use the best technical and managerial practices to successfully complete their projects. Process improvement is a way to improve the quality, productivity, and predictability of your software development, maintenance, and acquisition efforts. Now, to me, process improvement is a fairly simple thing. You do your work tomorrow better than you did it yesterday. And I think that's a pretty straightforward thing. But sometimes people seem to make process improvement much more complicated than necessary. Now, no matter what approach you take, software process improvement efforts can fall off the rails in a lot of ways. So this presentation describes 10 common traps that can undermine a software process improvement program. Incidentally, software process improvement is abbreviated SPI, and some people pronounce it SPI, but I don't call it SPI. It just doesn't sound right to me. So learning about symptoms and solutions for these process improvement killers can help you prevent them from bringing your initiative to its knees. As we go through these today, think about whether your organization is caught in any of these traps or maybe getting to the point where you're caught, and if so, how you might get out, hopefully by applying some of the solutions I suggest. But it's important to realize that none of these solutions I suggest are likely to be helpful if you're dealing with unreasonable people. That's a whole different kind of problem. So as you design and implement and adjust your software process improvement program, keep these 4 primary objectives of process improvement in sight. First, and I think the most important objective, is that we're trying to reduce the cost of developing and maintaining software. We're not trying to necessarily follow some rule book. We're just trying to improve the business results that we get. In addition, you can use a process improvement activity, and particularly some kind of an assessment or appraisal, as a way to better understand the current state of how your organization is performing both software engineering and project management. That insight can help you select the appropriate changes that will yield the greatest long-term business benefits. Process improvement is a means to an end. It's not an end in itself. And so we should be focusing on our business objectives here. Now, you're never going to succeed just by having a great book of processes, but you're going to prosper by combining the most appropriate, effective processes that are right for your situation with the most effective, trained, and motivated people that you can get. So it's really important to stay focused on how to add value to the business, not on just achieving someone's notion of what process utopia would look like. And it's easy to lose sight of these objectives and become distracted by the details of any process improvement model or framework you might be following. So emphasize the business and technical results you're trying to achieve, and try to avoid falling into the checklist or audit mentality that gives you a simple, tempting, but not very helpful approach. Let's not just charge for process improvement. Let's charge for process improvement that's going to help us achieve better business results. So I want to share 10 traps here with you. And the first trap is lack of adequate and serious management commitment. In the little graphic here, you've maybe heard the story about the difference between somebody who's committed and somebody who's supporting something, or someone who's committed and involved. And I don't really like the word support very much, but we see that the guy here for a space flight and mission control is supporting the effort, but the people up in the spacecraft are really committed to it. So while individual groups can improve the way they do their work through grassroots effort, if you want to achieve sustainable changes, then you've got to have management commitment at all levels. So a clear sign that you're maybe caught in this trap is the absence of a coherent organizational level process improvement strategy, plan, or goal. This means that improvement is driven just from the bottom-up practitioner level, instead of being steered, directed, and motivated by management who really wants to see the benefits happen. Now, you might hear senior managers claim to support process improvement. I mean, who doesn't want to get better at what they do? How can they say we don't care about improvement? Of course not. But managers might not be willing to make short-term sacrifices to free up the resources that are required for making this long-term investment in your organization. Larger organizations need to have alignment between senior management's objectives and one or more layers of mid-managers all the way down the chain. Now, if you're leading the process improvement effort, you might get senior management commitment, but you might get pushback from middle managers or even project managers. And this can be very frustrating. It can be a real barrier that's hard to break through. As one of my process group colleagues once said, it's frustrating to have to debate the importance of process improvement with people who should only have to be educated, not sold. Now, another problem is that you might find project managers or lower-level managers who assign their least capable people, or perhaps no one at all, to the program. And this sends a clear sign that the lack of management commitment is about to foil your effort. These kinds of mixed signals from management make it hard for practitioners to take the effort seriously. So you need to watch out for lip service and buzzwords that are masquerading as commitments. So a few solutions here. It's kind of obvious. I mean, the main thing is that the managers at all levels need to send consistent messages about process improvement to their various constituencies. The executives need to be educated about the costs, benefits, and risks so they have a common vision and understanding of this complex area. It is difficult. There's a lot to it. And so we need to educate people so they understand what we're in for, what we're trying to accomplish, and what the benefits and costs are likely to be. It's important to try to align the commitments along the organizational hierarchy so you don't have managers working at cross purposes. And that way a reluctant manager can't necessarily sabotage the effort through inaction. Now, in one of the organizations that I know of that was very successful with process improvement, managers throughout the organization were evaluated in part based on how well the process improvement program was executed. In other words, we had managers who were putting some of themselves at risk. Some of their performance evaluation was depending on how well they contributed and to the success of the improvement effort. Now, in my view, the single biggest threat to the success of any improvement or change initiative is a reorganization. I've seen this happen over and over and over again. So it's really important that your objectives remain continuous despite management changes. For example, I worked with one organization that had been making progress on a large-scale process improvement effort based on the CMM, the Software Engineering Institute's Capability Maturity Model. But there was a reorganization, and the next senior manager who came along decided, no, that's not our goal. The real goal is getting ISO 9001 registration. So the whole program radically changed direction. Now, sometimes programs change direction for good reasons, good business reasons. But this was pretty demoralizing for the process leaders who'd put a lot of effort into learning the CMM and had made pretty good progress in applying it to their organization. I believe the best motivation for changing how people do their work is pain. Now, I don't mean artificially induced external pain, but rather the very real pain that people experience from projects that don't go well for one reason or another. Eliminating that sort of pain should be a strong impetus for change. So the process changes you make should be focused on eliminating those known points of pain, as well as preventing potential future points of pain from a risk management perspective. I want to talk a little bit about this commitment idea again. People often say they support some activity, but I don't like the word support. I think it's vague and ambiguous, and I never know what it means when someone says, I support this thing. And too often, management support simply translates into permission. Sure, you can do that software process improvement thing, I support it. But I don't know what that means. Often it doesn't mean anything tangibly. So I have no interest at all in management support for something. However, I am very interested in management commitment to an activity. And I see a big difference between support and commitment. So here I want to show you 10 clear signs that your managers are committed to the process improvement activities. And if you're in a process improvement leadership position in your organization, you might want to share this list with your management to see if their stated commitment translates into the necessary expectations, resources, results, and accountability. So one of the most obvious things is that the managers